Hi guys, it's me, Jacob and Oscar fan, 18 Gaming. No, sorry, just kidding. It's me, Jacob and Oscar fan, 18. So today, I'll be telling you a CreepyPasta story. So it's gonna be the Skinwalker. I tell you guys on my phone, right over here. Let's get into it. Alright. My father told me a story once I'll never forget let's see, for a few reasons. I think it's the first story he ever told me as a child. It's also the no, sorry, it's just not. No. You hear stories on TV, or sometimes, you overhear something in a public place. People talk about ghosts and aliens, and you think to yourself, that isn't real. Nothing. They're making it. They're making up, or they're mistaken, or they're, or they're. I'm not sorry. They're making it up, or they're mistaken, or they're crazy. Or something like that. You just can't believe until something happens, something that brings it up, and that brings it all together, connects the dots. What?
Please.
Yeah. In a way you didn't think of before. Maybe it happens to you.Maybe you hear the same story again and again.
That is so cute.
Yes. Happening to different people. It doesn't take long for the world to become a lot bigger than you thought it was. I said, Mr. Hastings, this is a story my father told me, but I never believed it. Even thought he swore up and down it was true. It wasn't until I started clicking around the internet. I started to believe. I started to hear other stories, just like the one my father told me. It didn't take me long to believe in the rake. That's not what my father called it. Of course, he's never used the internet in his life. He wouldn't know what the consensus has taken to naming it when he chose to call it something or other than it or that thing. He called it Skinwalker. After an old Navajo tale his grandfather told him, but I'll tell you, this story the way he told it to me. Okay, here a second. What he said?
Yeah.
We were out hunting one night. He tell him, and he tell me, coyote. I say, what's that? Okay. Coyotes. We kill them for $50 a skin. They lived on a dairy farm in Ohio. Sorry, I know it's getting itchy. You know, hair, skin long. Got a piece of hair. Has got a piece of hair. They kill cows. Sometimes we do it. We do it every night because we needed the money. Sometimes, while we were out, we come on a deer and kill it. Our landlord didn't mind, and it could feed our family for a few nights and save us some money. How's it going, guys? I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, never mind. Anyway, we were done making our rounds, and hiding, and heading home walking, 'cause we didn't have a car or some four-wheeler back then. We cut through that wood that when we came up on it. Blood. I was like, what's that? Blood everywhere. Blood everywhere. Spiders on the trees, in the grass, in the creek, everywhere. Everywhere. And at first we figured it was a pack of coyotes. We'd seen it. Sometimes they can't scavenge and start hunting deer or cattle.
Why the hell do I have this?
The worst was when they bred with feral dogs. But this wasn't like that. But this wasn't like that. See when see when a pack of dogs or wolves or coyotes attack something, do they do it right? Stop.
Shut up.
Oh no, sorry. I thought it was me. I'm sorry.
Well, really, realize a lot. I'm not. A lot of the crap you put in here that was on the Barnes Christie 4, all that shit goes right into my phone too.
What the hell?
Well, because it's on that account, and that account's in my phone, so it goes to here too.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, guys, let's continue on. Well, hey, it'll fall off camera, though. Okay, I'll this way. I can hold it aside. I might. There. And there, guys, continue on. Sorry. We're sorry. I'm very sorry. They do it right. They'll pick off one that's weak or sick or old or just small. They'll hunt it and draw it into a corner someplace it can't run. It can't it can't get out of and off. They'll run it right to the biggest one, the alpha, and that deer will never see that alpha. It might hear it, but won't see it. It'll just it'll just notice. I'm sorry. It'll just notice that its throat is gone, and then it'll drop dead. It's quick. It's clean. That wasn't what happened here. Something had run up and on a den of deer. Coyotes won't attack a den. Wolves neither, because they get too much of a fight. They were I think three bodies just torn apart. You see a head here, a leg here, a leg here, and a torso. They're predators. Don't do that. Don't do that. They don't leave behind scraps. What had done this hadn't done it for food. It had it had done it had done it for fun. Sorry, I cannot talk. I'm kind of screwed up today. I don't know what's wrong with me. All I gotta do is take my time. But we didn't know that. We saw a bunch of carcasses, and we think it's something we gotta take care of. I remembered my dad telling me to go home. He thought it was a pack of feral dogs. But I wasn't leaving him, and I damn sure wasn't walking through 2 miles of wood, woods alone with something. With nothing but a 22 and a pocket knife. He was only 13 at the time, so a 22 rifle. A 22 rifle was about the only gun he could reliably use. Dad had the shotgun, and I wasn't going anywhere without it. It took me a while to convince him, but finally we began tracking whatever did that. It wasn't hard either. We just followed the blood. Either that thing bled a deer before it got away, or dragged one for a mile. I don't know. I know that I never seen my dad scared before that night. We started hearing, and sorry, we started hearing noises. I've been in a lot of woods in my life. I've been all over the world, and Aiden never heard noises like I heard that night. I heard things screaming. I heard deer. Heard deer and fox and rabbits and raccoons and birds. Just scared. And just scared. But keep it in mind, this is maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. Kept a fox and some birds. Nothing was supposed to even but be awake. But they weren't just awake. They were moving. I saw flocks of birds that night fly straight into trees and just trying to get out of here. I'm trying to get out of here. I'm trying to get out there. We came up on a pack of coyotes. Nearly shot a couple thinking it was what we were looking for us. But then we saw there and they were running towards us. They ran right past us. Didn't even notice. Then some deer did the same, Then some rabbits, squirrels, foxes, even a couple of wild hogs. These things were supposed to be eating each other, and the only thing they cared about was getting out of here. There. We should have put it together. That maybe whatever he were tracking, it was something we were supposed to see, and it wasn't something we could kill. I don't know why we didn't just go home. I guess we were curious. I think that was my dad's nature. To go toward trouble, to fight. And knowing what I knew about what my father did, what my father did during the war. And during the war, my nature was to stay close to him. We finally get into an open valley. Wasn't it season? Wasn't it season? So it was just flat dirt. We saw the tracks. Then a lot of animals fleeing the forest had paved over the land. But where the deer blood was, nothing had taken a single step. Like they were leaving it for us to find. the tracks were shallow. Whatever couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds. But that didn't mean much. Mean much. A bobcat weighing 40 pounds when nearing tore out of my damp throat. Once all that means that it's quick and hard to hit. So we follow the tracks and follow tracks. What was that? Oh, I'm knocking it over shit right now. And it doesn't take us long to find where it is. There's this old school house that sits at the top of the hill. Half of it had been ripped out by a tornado. But nobody lived in there, not for a long time. We caught homeless people in there. Sorry, that's dad. That's the father. Sorry. Sometimes, or druggies looking for a safe place to shoot up. We figured maybe that was it. Maybe it was some sick kid riding a high, but we didn't think that for long. We get within 50 yards, and we hear this noise, a screeching kind of sound. It was sort of made up two different sounds. One was high, one was a high pitched screech. Another was a low pitched growl. It was making both at the same time. We get within 20 yards, and we hear this sound. I can remember thinking of that it sounded like paper being torn apart, while someone was swinging water in a bucket and back and forth. Dad looks at me, kneels down and whispers, "I gotta stay behind him, because we're about to corner him." Any animal will fight when it's cornered, especially when it's a predator. But we can tell by the tracks that it's just one. He tells me is probably a single feral, probably feral dog, probably rabbit. The plan is to sneak up on it while it's eating, shoot it. Sorry. The plan is to sneak up on it while it's eating. Shoot it. How's he gonna? Shit. Fuck. Then keep shooting it till it don't move anymore. Then slit its throat. If it gets too dead, it's my job to shoot it or stab it to get it off of him. So he walks up and right behind him, just a tad to his side, so I can see what it is. I wish to this day I had it. It was leaning over a car cast, tears off its flesh, and throws what it doesn't nibble at its side. There's blood all over the brick, glistening in the moonlight. It's pale white, humid looking, but not quite human. It had arms and legs like a human, but it sat like a monkey, hunched over, and its hands were normal. It had long fingers with claws at the end. So we see that, and my dad hesitates, and he wasn't about to fire on a person. So he clears his throat to try get it to turn around. I swear to God, all that noise just ceased. I ain't ever heard true silence before that, and not after it, but for 2 seconds, nothing made any noise, which made it all the louder when it turned around. It made this shrill cry, and jumped on Dad. He got a shot off. I think he missed. If he hit the thing, it didn't mind, but it was on him. Tears parts of him off. I start shooting it. At the 22 point blank. But it barely bled but the thing I got off 5 rounds, and then I started hitting it with a gun butt. Oh, you know, guys. Yes, let's go ahead, keep going. But it wasn't budging. It didn't even register that I was there. It crawled at my dad, taking off bits of his flesh. It started on his torso, ripping off the skin, his tit. Then it moved up. It tore off his throat. It tore off his nose, his eyes.
What the hell are you reading?
The creepypasta story.
The what?
The creepypasta story.
It sounds creepy.
What?
It sounds creepy. I'll read it to you.
It scalped him. I don't know. It's telling my fans story. Alright. It scalped him. Then it started digging and ripped off the bottom half of his jaw. The little bones. What?
It sounds gross.
Yeah. The little bones that tube in your neck, and then his ribs. I don't exactly remember what happened, but somehow my dad's knife ends up in this thing's shoulder on my dad, ends up on my back. I running and by God and by God I running faster than I ever run before or after, and it's following me. I end up back in the woods opposite the ones we been in. I heading towards by landlord's house, cause it's half of a mile. I can hear this thing screeching and moaning. I hear the tree branches crack and get thrown around. It sounds like someone's taking an axe to every single tree. I pass it's cracking so loud. It often, but I just ain't looking back. Finally, I trip into gravel. I look up, and there's my landlord and bunch of his buddies drinking around a campfire. I scream and I cry, and they come over. I telling them to call an ambulance, and he looks at me, and I'll never forget what he said. What's that on your back? He asked me. Just as he said it, he saw one of the god awful flannel shirts my dad wore. And wore everywhere. It was what was left of my dad. Most of his head, his torso, but nothing after the waist. Suddenly, we hear it. Screeching, he grabs me and my dad gets thrown on the ground. I'm fighting him, crying, 'cause I think we can still save him somehow. But my dad had been gone before I ever picked him up. He has to pick him up and throw me inside before I come with him. He and his buddies, he and his buddies, were all we're all inside and they're locking doors and getting guns. The landlord asking me, "What happened? What happened?" But I just don't know what to tell him. He pieced enough of it all together, understand that there was something dangerous there. All the lights in the house are on, and someone calls the cops. They'll be there, but in 15 minutes. We look outside, and we see it, and see it, walk in front of the fire. They made don't know what is it. I don't know what is it. One of them says it looks like an ape. Suddenly, something goes through the window. We shoot at it, but ain't the thing. It's my landlord's dog. It's my landlord's dog. Just a body. Though not his head or legs. We start pushing things in front of doors and windows. We hear something. The garage. I remember one of his friends saying that the doors were open. But then it got quiet, not silent like it was before. We could hear it move around some, and the guys were talking, making sure the guns were ready. Someone hands me a pistol. No sooner did I cock the hammer. Back did we hear something shatter upstairs. Then we heard it screech again. Now it was louder, and it didn't echo and fade out because it was inside. We all rushed to the one door leading upstairs and we got to it. Just as that thing did, it opened it just a bit, and 4 or 5 men slammed into it. It got its hand through someone with a shotgun. Took care of that. Put the barrel right up into its wrist, and pulled the trigger. But cut its hand off clean. That only pissed it off. Though it started pushing on that door. Clawing, we were on one side pushing as best we could, and it was on the other doing the same thing. That wood just wasn't going to hold. Someone tells us to keep our heads down. Suddenly, the top of the half of the door is just gone. My ears are ringing, and there are splinters everywhere. Two or three of them just unloaded on the top of on the top of that door. I don't really know where it went after that. The police got there. I was still glued to that door. What was left of it? The sun was up before they got me off of it. They put me in a hospital for a while. A lot of people talked to me, but I didn't talk back. Not for a long time. Not for a long time. When I got back home, I got a job from the landlord. We're gonna work on the farm. We didn't talk much. But not about the thing. But I signed up for the army when I was 19. And he sat me down to drink some scotch and said as a send off. I asked him right away that what the police told him. The story they went with was a wild animal, probably a wolf, or maybe a bear. That had migrated north. Hesitant, guys. Okay, there we go. I asked him how they could say that when they had the hand, he looks at me stunned. Stunned. He tells me that that hand never made it back to the station. The cop who had that's good. We're almost done. Okay, we're almost done, and that'll be it. The cop who had it in his car wreck drove into a tree, died on impact. The hand was never found, probably taken away by an animal. The cops, when they would acknowledge the hand exists at all, said it was simply the paw of a bear that looked like a human hand. I never talked to the landlord again. He went missing. When I was in basic, the cops never found him. They said he owed some people money, and just ran away. What? Yeah. But I don't think it's that simple. I never went back to those woods. I wouldn't even if I had the whole goddamn U.S. Army at my back.
That's what that book says anyway.
What?
Is that what it says?
Yes.
Okay.
But that was a lie. When my mother died, I don't know. I don't think my father felt he had anything left, and that he might as well settle old scores. He went to those woods. He never came back. The FBI was called. When they did a show for everyone involved. But I knew they weren't really looking. I had to get one drunk and slip him a few 50s before he finally told me that they get a few calls about those woods every year, about someone up and vanishing. But that was all he wanted to tell me before he got up and left with the rest of his team. He wrote the rake onto a napkin. I didn't know what it meant until I searched for it on the internet. Honestly, I would have rather not know. Well, guys, that's it for the story of the creepypasta about the Skinwalker. That's it for the story of the video. Hope you guys enjoy. So like, subscribe, comment, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.